All right, and we're live. I don't really know what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to play some audio and do some things, and hopefully Jake will kick in here. Here we go.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network.
And
you know what? This Week in Guns is sponsored by hunters and gun enthusiasts.
All right, so this is a very auspicious beginning. Let's try that again.
That didn't take long.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company. This podcast offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Sean Herron, president of the FRN. You make this program possible. That's right, you. Simply click through our Amazon affiliate links. The next time you're shopping online, a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. Guys, I'd like to introduce our panelists this week. We've got John Patton, host of the Gun Collective and owner of Patton Media and Consulting. John, what's up, buddy?
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well the second time. The first time, not so good.
Yeah, you're doing terrific.
We're also joined by Adam Kraut of the Firearms Industry Consulting Group, host of the legal brief on the Gun Collective and running for the NRA Board of Directors, adamkraut.com. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Sean?
I'm really doing okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. We're also joined by Ava Flanell, owner of Elite Firearms and Training and HMIC of the show Gun Funny. Ava, what's happening?
Nothing really. It's great because earlier when we recorded a show and you said that you were just going to sit back and relax, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm really relaxed right now.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not relaxed at all. Last but not least, we've got the star of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Challand, president of the Patriot Patch Company. Jake, how are you?
Doing good, and I'm especially doing good because I didn't have to do show notes today. I didn't have to send invites even. I mean, it's pretty great.
Wait, there's show notes?
Oh crap!
Whoops.
Yeah, no one actually told me about that. So I honestly just thought we were going to talk about my ears or something fun like that.
So, Sean, on a scale of 1 to Nature Valley granola bar, how much is your life falling apart right now?
I would say oatmeal bars is the answer to that. And you know what? Let me go ahead and give a little disclaimer. All right. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised, especially on live shows and especially on this show.
Who do I send a bill to for that, by the way?
It got lost in the transition.
Yeah, we cut that part out. Don't worry about it. Just look us up online. thisweekendinguns.net, and that'll show you everything you need. But I'll tell you what, there's a website that I'm not going to screw up. It's patriotpatch.co.
No, you screwed up that one.
No, I don't think I did. Well, that's because if they've got complaints, that's the website I want them to go to.
Yeah,
it'll work
to the BS website, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Go to firearmsradio.tv for all the Firearms Radio Network shows.
Well, yeah, no, that's great. But if you have a complaint, go to thisweekendinguns.net. But before you do that, go to patriotpatch.co. That's the Patriot Patch Company. Jake, I mean, you put out 17 patches yesterday since you didn't have to do this show, right?
Oh, I wish. We haven't put many out lately, but we we do have some pretty cool patches. We have this is my Safe Space 2.0 patch. This was like one of our first patches to go viral, quote unquote. And the first edition of this is like a super collector's item.
Hold on, I have the first edition.
You have it.
So do I.
It's worth like $80.
How much are the stickers worth?
No, the stickers are still available. They're not worth anything.
Oh, Man, you're killing me.
There's the patch.
Yeah, John has the original. I've got version 2.0. So 2.0 is not limited edition like the first one. So you can get this one today at patriotpatch.co.
I love it, man. So you got all kinds of great cleaning mats. I recently expanded into a third room to set up as a Studio B here in Colorado Springs. And now we've got all the cleaning mats on a really, really nice workbench that we built and put in there. So lots more content coming. But those mats, I use them for mouse pads. I use them on the workbench for gun reviews and things like that. I absolutely love them. They're one of my favorite things. But you guys also have T-shirts too. Pretty much all kinds of stuff going on at patriotpatch.co, right?
Absolutely. You can see John wearing our T-shirts on his show. Actually, he's wearing one right now. Endless Possibilities AR-15 T-shirt. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I completely love it. So go check out Patriot Patch Company. You know them, you love them, and if you want to feel connected with Jake, that's the way you guys are going to have to do it now. Or just send him Snapchats. You know what I mean.
Yeah, wiener shots. So wait a second. Does the podcasting audience know?
I'm not necessarily 100% sure. So why don't we go ahead and talk about it real quick? I'd like just a brief audio interlude. All right. So for those that don't know, Jake, why don't you give us a rundown? What the heck happened?
Well, I decided it was time for a change. And I've transitioned away from the Firearms Radio Network. And This Week in Guns, I've handed the reins over to Sean Heron to take things further than I ever could. And so This Week in Guns will go on. But I'm kind of retired from podcasting. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, you would not believe how much we had to pay him to bring him back for this show. But My dressing room, I told you only brown M&Ms. And what do I find? There's some green ones in there. What the heck? I know. Look, I sent Aaron over to do it. You should actually be more worried about what's on the jelly beans than what color they are, to be perfectly honest. So
first of all, he said M&Ms.
Whatever. Look,
well, if it's jelly beans, then we've got a bigger problem on our hands.
Exactly. So you can't trust anything that's going on. So Jake, honestly, man, you started the Firearms Radio Network. You put in so much blood, sweat, and tears. The only reason that I'm in a studio right now is because of you, to be perfectly frank and perfectly honest. Like Savage sent you a recording of one of our meetings that we had kind of in the back room. We used to just get together and talk about what guns we were going to talk about or write articles about whatever. And it seemed kind of funny. So Savage sent you and you said, it seems kind of funny. Record me a pilot. And then you've been just kind of regretting that choice ever since, I feel.
Pretty much. No, you guys have been killing it. You know, We Like Shooting onto the network pretty early on and grew it into pretty much a #1 show. I mean, it goes back and forth with This Week in Guns, but you guys, I think, have a lot more video viewers than we ever do. So you guys are killing it, and you're really good at creating community and forming those relationships with companies in the industry and somehow convincing them to support podcasting, which I always found difficult.
Yeah, basically you just have to kind of invent your own terms. And whenever they say how many downloads you have, I say new phone, who dis? And it's like that. But I mean, to be perfectly honest, Jake, like none of this exists without you. So, from my heart and from the hearts of the listeners, absolutely. Thank you for everything you've done. I take this responsibility incredibly seriously. And I will make sure that I perform the duties in a way in which your legacy will always remain.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking it forward, and I'm looking forward to the future. I'm looking forward to watching it from the sidelines and being able to focus on other projects I got going on.
Awesome, man. So, John, what is the Firearms Radio Network meant to you? I mean, you've been on a ton of these shows.
I have been on a lot of these shows. I lost count. I have no effing clue. I mean, it was like 2 years ago? No, it's more than that.
Way more than that. Well, John, you really deserve a bunch of the credit for This Week in Guns and what it's become. Because you came on pretty early on and really helped me build this brand. And buddy, I mean, you've been a big part of it. I mean, ask any listener that John Patton's comes to mind when they say this weekend.
That's cool. It's awesome. I love the people out there that listen, but I think it kind of goes without saying that it doesn't work without somebody organizing and making this and like guiding it every week. So it's all you, brother. It's all you. I think it's been really interesting to basically come at gun stuff from a different angle. I was always doing video stuff, and I still do it to this day. So being able to just sit and not worry about does the shot look right and all that sort of stuff, and to be able to really truly have a discussion with my friends, like we've created friendships and business relationships out of this show, and it's been incredible because of that. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome.
Totally.
I mean, Jake, think back to when you and I first did this. I think you said something to me on like YouTube or sent me an email when I was still doing the old channel. It was a long time ago.
It was definitely when you're still doing I'm with Chaos. And is that how I did it? Did I reach out and just message you?
I would have to go digging.
I don't remember. I think I did, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. If I can find the first email you ever sent me. But yeah, you reached out and I was like, who the heck is this guy? I don't know if this is legit, because at the time I was messing around trying to do a show as well, and like I think that might be how it happened. I don't know, but it's
maybe you were doing some other hangouts at the time.
Either way, the reality is, it's definitely given me a lot better perspective of what's happening and what other people are feeling in the industry over the last few years. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. This Week in Guns, I mean, it's a staple. People love this show. They watch it all the time. They listen to it. And I see tons of feedback about it already. It was something that I got the most messages about when Jake announced that he had lost his mind. It was, will This Week in Guns continue? And, people were really concerned about it. Adam, what are your thoughts? Obviously you've been on the show an awful lot of times. What do you think?
I'm just here for the free legal advice.
Perfect. Jim Tan Laundry.
No, I think John facilitated me getting on this show, and I don't know how it came to fruition. I don't remember, but I remember him mentioning something. I think back when he was still at the shop with me, like, hey, do you want to be on a podcast with me? And I said, yeah, sure. And Jake gave me a microphone, and it's been downhill ever since. Apparently, I've been liked enough that I've been invited back more than once. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been great talking with a lot of people that I was already friends with. It's been great making new friends through the show and hearing their opinions on things, and we might not always disagree with, or might not always agree with what the end result is, but it's always a pretty cordial discussion. And it's just been a lot of fun. It's fun hearing what the listeners think too, for that matter.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ava, any thoughts on Jake and the FRN?
I mean, I always thought that his name was Eric, so
yeah. She actually did say, is that Eric? And I was like, okay, that's cool.
I mean, after he said that I was dead to him, but moving on.
Yep, no big deal. So Jake, thank you for everything that you've done for not just me, not just John, not just Adam, and obviously not Ava, but thank you very much for everything you've done for the Second Amendment community. I mean, podcasting is a huge growing medium. I think that it gets more popular all the time. You're seeing more people launch podcasts every single day. And the great thing is, because of your vision, because of your ambition, we were all 4 years ahead of the curve. And I think that's huge. And I don't think it's a value that we can place on, or there is no value we can place on it. So thank you, sir. We always will wish you the best. And Patriot Patch Company is going to be around the FRN for a very long time. And thanks again, Jake.
Yeah, no problem. And in terms of the firearms industry, I mean, since we're talking podcasting and technology, we're probably like 80 years ahead of the curve. I don't know.
True. Yeah, I think you're probably right. They're still trying to buy ads for that the AM radio.
They're still trying to upgrade their 14.4 modem, and
and they're all, send me a fax. I'm like, what?
Right.
I don't want to.
No, it's been a lot of fun. Made a lot of friends. Everyone on the show and everyone on the regular This Week in Guns panel. It's just been really cool to meet all these people and find these friendships in the firearms industry. I would have never imagined it going that far when I started things about 5 years ago with Gun Guy Radio. I mean, I just started that as a hobby, just something to do for fun.
Yep. Life gets so different. So thank your lovely wife for us and for all the time.
Well, and she needs to be thanked more than anyone because, she put up with a ton. And
yeah, a ton of you being out in the barn, when that's where you were working, and just, I mean, so much, man. So yeah, thank her, thank the kiddos, and enjoy your podcast retirement. We all know that you're going to stay extremely busy and that you'll never sit on your laurels. So we can't wait to see what you do next.
Carry on my wayward son. You are done. We only had to rest. Don't you cry no more.
All right, that'll do. I don't want to get pulled off YouTube's. All right, so hey, let's actually get into the show now and see what we got to talk about. All right, so the first show that we're going to talk about is DC is now shall issue. DC Circuit Court says good cause is unconstitutional, issues permanent injunction, and it's good that we've got the Adam Kraut for the free legal advice. Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
Told you. I wrote an article. You can read the article about it. I think it's a really good thing. It was a little surprising, to be honest, coming out of the DC circuit. But you saw, likewise, with the Paruta case, the original panel decision out of the Ninth Circuit was a very favorable decision. It wasn't until it was heard en banc that it went the other way. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here, whether or not the district's going to appeal it or not. Last I had looked, and this is now going on a week and a half, 2 weeks, the district courts had not yet entered the permanent injunction. So there's a couple ways this could pan out. One, the district could do nothing, permanent injunctions to get entered. Two, they request a stay and appeal it to the Supreme Court. Or they request a stay and appeal it or ask for it to be reheard en banc in the district court. At this point, based on the Supreme Court's decision to not hear Paruta, I'd be inclined to guess they'd probably take the same approach here. It would all depend on whether or not we have a new justice by the time it all gets there. And I don't think Kennedy's stepping down right away like people were thinking. And if he did, as you saw with Gorsuch, it's not going to be an overnight process to put someone else in there. So I think for right now, it's going to be one of two things. Either this permanent injunction's getting entered, or you're going to see an en banc rehearing of the case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we always think that it's going to be done. We always hear news that, hey, they did this, and yay, that's great news. But unfortunately, that's just not the way that things work. It's going to be stuck in hell for a long time. Patton, what do you think?
I'm very curious to see if they do the en banc hearing and how that would go. Because the current judge layout, I think we haven't seen a really significant case come before them, and I think it would be very interesting to see how that lands.
Yeah, also a little bit terrifying if it lands in a way.
Right. Like all of us are kind of going, oh crap.
Well, you got to remember, the decision only affects the District of Columbia. It's
but
DC
at the same
circuit,
time,
so it matters. It absolutely matters. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you got to just keep it in context as to the area it affects. Just like the Ninth Circuit doesn't affect the entire country. And again, an unfavorable decision for Second Amendment rights anywhere is not good. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying you got to remember it's relegated to an area. And until the Supreme Court weighs in, unfortunately, that if it's bad, it's the law of the land.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it could set a precedent, right, that other courts use when they rule on things like this, correct?
Yeah, for the district, it would be precedent. For other circuits, it would be persuasive, so they could cite to it. Attorneys could cite to it, or even the courts could cite to it as a reason for their decision. And you saw that in the actual district court decision. You saw the recounting of different circuit courts, how they arrived at this, the fourth, the third, and I think it was the second, and the ninth. And they went into how the seventh was the only other one to really examine this in the historical context through the decision in Heller and how they arrived at a similar determination.
Yeah, completely agree. Jake, Ava, you guys have anything to add on this one?
No, actually, I mean, I agree. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out, because it does. I mean, even though it doesn't really affect us directly, it does set the precedent for how future cases might unfold.
Yeah, agreed.
Like the DC versus Heller case, you know, it took a few years, but eventually, I mean, it kind of played a part ultimately in Illinois getting concealed carry. So maybe ultimately, you know, down the road, this could play a role in restoring some gun rights in the nation.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I think it's so much more significant than any of us can see right now. You know, because Heller alone has been like the case that everything has been compared to.
Yeah.
You know,
it has.
Could be another version of that. I don't know. It's going to be real interesting.
Yep, completely agree. All right, good stuff there, guys. Let's talk just a little bit about "Don't Drop Me, Bro" gate. All right, so just to set the stage a little bit. So Sig Sauer has a little bit of a public relations problem, and maybe even some legal problems. Have they called you yet, Adam?
He's muted.
I don't.
He's muted.
Yeah, sorry. No, and you also kind of broke up there. What was the question?
Sorry. No, has Sig Sauer called you for advice yet?
No, they wouldn't call me. They got a guy for that. It's not me. I'm not the guy.
Right, exactly. All right, so Sig Sauer, basically it came out, Omaha Outdoors put out a video that showed that Sig Sauer does fail in a way, or the P320 does fail when dropped in a non-standard way that's not normally tested. Now, it's not tested. It's not part of the drop testing. However, it doesn't seem that non-standard to me. So I will say that it's a little bit scary, to be perfectly honest. When you drop it on the rear of the gun, their testing showed that it fires more often than not. So pretty much almost every time that they drop the gun on the rear in the beaver tail grip area, they would fire, which is a tad bit scary. So who wants to go first? John, what are your thoughts on this?
I feel like I was part of the fuel for this fire. I shared the Omaha Outdoors video, and it's been seen like almost 2 million times at this point, which is kind of, you know, it happens. I thought this was interesting because within a very short period of time, we saw something come out about Dallas PD prohibiting the use of these things, saying, "Oh, they're not working, they're not safe, et cetera, et cetera," and then everybody jumped on, including SIG. Oh, our guns are safe. There's not a problem. Yada, yada, yada. They sent out a press release saying they, quote unquote, reaffirmed the safety of that gun. And then not a couple days later, the Omaha Outdoor videos comes out, and then it just went haywire. Absolute haywire. And now SIG has issued a what are they calling it? A voluntary upgrade?
Yeah, voluntary upgrade, not a recall, a voluntary upgrade.
That's like Ruger calling stuff a safety warning. Like, get the hell out of here. It's a damn recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Ryan Kleckner actually posted an image of their actual user manual for the P320 that said it could fire if dropped. So, I mean, it's obviously something they knew about, or maybe that's just what they put in every gun just to cover their butts in case it actually does happen. They'll be like, oh, it was in the warning, or it was in the user manual. But it's literally in there. Do you guys recall ever seeing that a gun could fire if dropped in a user's manual before?
I just want to take a poll of how many of you have read the user manual for any gun you bought.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, so there you go.
But
do they actually come with the user manual? I didn't even know that, actually.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think you'll find standard legal disclaimers in there. So the argument from the company side is going to be, well, we provided you with the information. It's not our fault you didn't look at it. And that if you look at any number of different products on the market, firearms, non-firearms, it's all the same in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. Ava, what are your thoughts on the whole P320 gate?
I don't know. I think, I mean, obviously there's I think that they should do a recall. It could be really dangerous. But I'm just more curious if they knew about it and still released it, or if it was something that maybe they just put general verbiage in the owner's manual, and then, you know, and then once they released it, at some point realized that there was an issue. Because the minute that they found out there was an issue, just within days, they found a solution. Which it seems a little weird that they would have come up with a solution so quickly. Yeah, I think that's what I'm most curious about. Is obviously they should issue a recall, not a voluntary
upgrade.
Exactly, because it could be dangerous, and somebody's wearing the wrong holster, it drops, and
Yeah, I mean,
it's, as you see with this lawsuit with the police officer, the person that shot themselves in the leg.
Yeah, I see people drop guns in matches like that. It's obviously a disqualifiable offense. However, at the end of the day, you drop your gun and it actually goes off. It's a much greater offense, to be perfectly honest, and it's a little bit scary.
So they're kind of in the same camp as Taurus now, right? Because
yes.
I mean,
they're nowhere near Taurus.
Well, I mean, this kind of brings to mind how many other guns might this be an issue? Like, how extensively are these production guns drop tested? Like, we're all told any modern firearm is drop safe. They've been drop tested. They have safeties built into them. But how safe are they?
Yeah, and when you see that the drop tests don't even include dropping it on the rear of the firearm, that's a red flag. I mean, obviously these tests have to be very standard because everyone has to do the same tests for them to certify it and call it drop safe and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone really has looked at these tests and thought, oh yeah, these are really completely overarching and they cover every single scenario. Because look, they can't cover every scenario, but I would think dropping it on all 6 planes might be a good idea. The top, the bottom, the left, the right, the rear, the front. Maybe that should be what it is at the end of the day.
Well, and is this even, is there industry standards that have to, I know that when I posted a picture, like all these funny memes and stuff, and it opened a debate, and a lot of people were saying that a lot of the firearms out there don't have that drop safety.
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't, and it's like something that I just thought that most modern firearms nowadays had that internal drop safety. But
the reality is there is no gun industry standard. It's the standard that this was tested to was the military standard for the modular handgun, whatever thing they were looking for the Army. So that when SIG won that, of course, all these Glock guys get super bad out of shape, and then they go on a rampage. And Adam, that dog looks amazing right now.
The cone of shame.
The cone of shame. He's just walking around.
Yeah.
But the reality is this would never have come about in most testing, because I don't think that most modern companies are testing their guns like that. I don't think they're drop testing them. I don't think it happens. They put these measures in place, and they may, if they're working on something new, I don't think they go out of their way to create new tests to make sure it's the safest gun out there. True. I think they're more concerned with it functioning reliably with a ton of horrible choices for ammo, as well as good stuff, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see it happening as often as we would probably like it to be. Side note, I think this is very interesting, and we were talking about the manual, and I really want to say this. I think Remington needs to add it to their manual that their guns
here comes
will
the hate
go
mail.
off. Their guns will go off when dropped.
I guess Jake's not getting the hate mail anymore either.
Right, because they're going to thisweekendinguns.net to send that. But yeah, I mean, this is a crazy thing. So Ava brought something up that was kind of interesting to me, is that, look, this all came to light. They basically had a fix within a couple of days. It's very likely that they knew about this ahead of time, but a big company that actually trades publicly and has to answer to stockholders and board members and things like that, they, at the end of the day, when they have something come up like this, they have to weigh what is our general liability if we have to settle a bunch of lawsuits compared to the cost of a recall. And usually if the cost of a recall is less than the general liability they expect to have to pay out in lawsuits and wrongful death and things like that, they're not going to do it, or they will do it, just depending on which way that goes, right? It's like whichever one is more cost effective for them is likely the way that they're going to go. And obviously this is a lot of speculation on my part, but if they not only did they not do a recall, but they still haven't done a recall, they're doing a voluntary upgrade. So maybe they've decided that this officer that is going to sue SIG after the P320 shot him in the leg when he dropped it, maybe this is an isolated incident, or they feel like it's not that much of a concern, or it's not something that's going to happen that often. But honestly, they've had their attorneys looking at this, and they've done, I guarantee they've done some internal reporting that shows that it's much more likely to cost more to do a recall than it is to pay out these lawsuits. Do you guys agree with that or disagree?
Absolutely agree.
So
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard.
So I really hope this is a different officer, because this is how the Taurus lawsuits started. Was an officer in Iowa, and can you imagine? He was like, "That's it. I'm going to get a reliable handgun. I'm going to get a SIG. Don't have to worry about anything."
Can you only imagine?
Funny, I heard they're so good. Even the Army picked it. Bang! Oh, it's my other leg.
Oh god. All right, so can we just real quick talk about all the amazing memes that I've seen about this? Like, the meme game is strong with the SIG.
Oh, it's so good.
Has there been one with the knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? It's only a flesh wound.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Somebody needs to make it. I'm a genius.
I think my favorite one was I think it started out with a picture of the SIG firing, and it was like my gun is drops, and then it kind of stops, and then the next frame is just like the same gun picture, and it said, "Oh crap, Mike, are you okay, Mike?"
I just saw one today where it has the Trump plane, and it's dropping a bunch of SIGs on on Korea.
Yeah, North Korea. They're just so great. So look, I mean, at the end of the day, let me just say this: I don't love internet witch hunts, but at the same time, I do love some of the humor that comes out of it. So while I love the meme game and I think that's hilarious, there's a lot of people out there too that are saying, SIGs are garbage, and I'm going to sell all my SIGs, and they're burning their SIGs in trash cans and things like that. And I think that just goes a little bit too far. Like, look, the company screwed up. The company's going to make it right eventually, whether it's through the legal system or they just do a recall or they fix them all or whatever. They're going to fix the mistake, and eventually we're going to kind of forget about it, just like we've already forgotten at Springfield what they did in Illinois. So at the end of the day, I think that there's some great humor to be had, but also I think maybe we put away the pitchforks just a little bit and wait to see kind of how things roll out. John, what are your thoughts there?
The North remembers.
Yes, and winter is coming.
Well, SIG is a great company. They've been doing a lot of innovation as far as going into the ATF territory of creating things that ATF may not necessarily want gun companies to create. So they've been really stepping outside and not being the traditional Remington-like company.
Yeah,
that they were in the past. They've really started innovating. They started, branching off into accessories and ammo and everything else, optics. So I mean, they're really doing a lot to try to, I guess, become the one of the future players in the firearms industry, similar to what I guess Smith & Wesson is doing in some aspects. But they're going to get this figured out. They're a good company. Until then, we're going to just keep laughing at the memes.
Yeah, because the memes are just killing it. And I will say, it's at least SIG has a big, huge competitive shooting team out there proselytizing and oh, dang it, I forgot.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that'll do there. Our next story is Arizona prohibits laws mandating smart gun sales. Adam, I have a feeling that you might have an opinion on this.
Good.
That's it. Good.
A man of few words.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to do? Elaborate on it?
Wax intellectual for like 5 seconds. Ready? Go.
Really good. Oh my God, good.
I'm good.
I think it's interesting. Let's see here. The law bars any future law or statute that I guess requires smart guns to be sold versus traditional guns. So it appears that it's only blocking based on my cursory glance here, you want intelligent. It appears it's only blocking a mandate of you have to buy that type of gun versus it would have been a better law if it just prohibited the sale of them flat out, period.
Right. So I've
just
got
my 2 cents, but cool.
It's a little bit like think of the children's style law that they just kind of put into place. Like, do we need laws like this? Or is this just something that they're doing to pander to their electorate?
Probably the latter. I don't know if you'll ever see a law that mandates the sale of smart guns to the public.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll find out, I guess, in due course.
Is that a bunny rabbit behind you?
Ah, yes. What is in the cage? Can somebody please answer that question?
It's a guinea pig.
It's a guinea pig.
Oh, okay. Is the dog interested in that? Is that what he's looking at?
Yeah. So the dog is new. We've had him about a month, and he hates everything that isn't. He hates everything other than me. So he hasn't seen the guinea pig. He's very interested in the guinea pig, and the guinea pig is always asked about whenever I do a live chat. Not to get off topic here, but everybody always asks what's in the cage, and no sooner after I answer that question, there's another question, what's in the cage, from somebody who joined. It's just a perpetual thing. I used to have a sign up there with his name on it. That's Sir Gins, the guinea pig.
I love it. Ava, do you have thoughts about the smart gun thing? You think it's important? You think it's a good idea?
I mean, it's absolutely a good idea. Obviously, it doesn't work well. That guy with $15 worth of magnets was able to, to deactivate it. And then they're saying that if your fingers are dirty or wet or anything like that, it won't work. So I think that, it definitely shouldn't be mandatory that those are that gun's your only option. But I agree with Adam. They should probably just do away with it until they, if anything, come up with a better solution that actually works.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a joke.
I'm okay with honestly with investigating smart gun technology. Look, I'm never going to buy one, or I might even, you never know, I might buy one just to kind of see what it's all about. But I'm okay with going towards the Judge Dredd style stuff as long as it works and as long as that technology keeps advancing. Again, don't want it, don't need it. It's a cool thing that to have as an option. But the problem is that once someone brings it in, places like California and Chicago, and that they're gonna mandate it. So. I appreciate that Arizona is kind of acting a little bit in advance, although I'm not sure how exactly this would affect Arizona since they're not one of those places that I would expect a law like that to even go into place. But, good on them for just thinking about it ahead of time. Anyone else have anything to add to this story?
No.
All right.
No.
Guys, let's move down to the I'm Offended segment, and we'll start talking there. So I'm offended that Jake hasn't sang us a song yet. Jake, would you like to sing us a song before you leave?
Well, I've been working on a low number, actually. No.
No. I actually thought this was going to happen. I was like, talk about your best segue ever.
I've been writing songs, riding the train, and no.
So the first story, and I'm offended that I'd like to talk about, is one that you kind of see a little bit of hypocrisy going on. The Fresno mayor opposes concealed carry permits and carries a gun himself. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to really say about that. It's moms demand action or whatever. They've got armed bodyguards. They constantly rail against our gun rights. So, in this, Fresno Mayor Lee Brand, a Republican, opposes a bill allowing city workers with concealed permits to carry on the job, yet Brand has a concealed permit and has carried a gun on the job due to his higher visibility. So this is just one of those situations where these people think the ruling class thinks that they're better than the proletariat, and they're just constantly pushing us towards the ground. What do you guys think? 2
legs good, 4 legs bad. Isn't that the quote from Animal Farm?
Yep.
Yeah, I just went there.
Exactly. I'm kind of so sick of seeing this kind of hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
It happens just so very often. Like, I think that whatever we have, they should have. They should have the same health care as their employees should have. They should have to go and operate by the same laws. I realize that's not how the world works, but Jake, do you have anything to add on this one?
Well, it's the same elitist mindset we've seen for years. Usually though, it's that they have armed bodyguards. It's rarely you see them carry a gun themselves. Although I think Mayor Bloomberg carries his own gun as well, so it's not really a surprise.
Does he really? I actually didn't know that, but I'm not surprised at all. It makes sense. I mean, a guy like him, he's pretty hated. You're probably going to want to be able to defend yourself, right?
Yeah, from all those gun nuts.
Exactly. John, you had to walk away for a second, but we're talking about the Fresno mayor who basically opposed a bill allowing city workers with concealed permits to carry on the job, but he does carry. I know you've got something to add on this one.
Nothing that is okay to say. It involves a bunch of curse words, and like that dude is just an a-hole. Like that is hypocrisy at its best.
Yeah, I just don't get how they even justify this to themselves, right? Like at some point they have to think about this and be like,
the thing is, we as like rational people understand justifying something like this to ourselves. We understand that you would have to do this. This type of person doesn't even bother.
yeah.
I carry a gun. I'm above the law. I don't matter. This is the same nonsense as Congress having their own version of healthcare.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. It's baffling to me that they can even kind of make these leaps like that. They're so much better than everyone else and deserve, more rights.
Do as I do, do as I say, not as I do. Right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I know listeners are going to have a lot of opinions about this stuff, so feel free to get in touch with us and tell us your thoughts on these as well. Anyone else have anything to add to the jerk of a Fresno mayor that they've got out there? Yeah, I think we all agree he's kind of an a-hole. So Canadian man wrestles gun away from shooter and is charged with attempted murder. This actually was reported on July 25th in the Chronicle Herald. And I have to say that this is just kind of ridiculous. So a man in Halifax, Nova Scotia faces numerous charges, including attempted murder after wrestling a gun away from a home invasion suspect and shooting him with it.
I'm taking your gun, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not your buddy, pal.
I'm not your friend, guy.
3 men entered this guy's residence with guns, and a struggle took place with 2 men inside. The 2 men inside the home managed to take away one of the guns, and several shots were fired as the suspects fled. One of the suspects was shot and suffered non-life-threatening injuries. So, I mean, you kind of hear about this stuff in the United States on occasion, like robber falls through a skylight and lands on a knife on the butcher block and then sues the homeowner and wins, things like that.
Negligence.
But, yeah.
Should have foreseen it.
It makes no sense to me. Like, how do you think that this would happen in the United States? Do you think something like this might happen in the U.S.?
In California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's chances.
I agree. And that's so disturbing. I know there's a lot of listeners in California that are thinking, yeah, I could totally see this happening. But
it's the same nonsense, that you get these people on the news. Robber was shot while attempting to burglarize a family home, and you get the family on the news going, "You shouldn't have had shot him though, because all he did was try to take your stuff. He needed his stuff. You had stuff and he took it, but you shouldn't have shot him. That's your fault for shooting him." That's how they do. That's what it is on the news.
You're like, you know it, Pookie.
Exactly. And get mad if you're offended by that stupid joke. Get mad about it. But that's exactly how it happens.
I totally agree. And attempted murder though, that seems like quite the charge there. That
I bet he's sad he didn't kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day. Now, I will say that the suspects were fleeing and the homeowner still took several shots. I think that it might be a little bit hard to even justify that here in the U.S., even in some gun-friendly states, honestly. Yeah.
Well, I hear the real reason was because he didn't say he was sorry.
Guys, let me throw a wrinkle in this. What if it was a 320 and he didn't actually shoot at him, he just dropped it?
There you go.
Yeah?
I just think it was because his milk was in a carton, not a bag. Let's take that, Canada.
Wow.
Poutine was on the trigger, and it unfortunately didn't go well for any of them. Yeah, I think that this kind of thing is just ridiculous. Although I do think that we could see this in the U.S. It doesn't really matter that it happened in Canada, because I guess it could just happen anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, guys, have you heard anything about this Blacklist Industries claims that F4 Defense stole their upper design?
Yep.
John, what have you heard about it?
So I've seen both sides of the story here. Long story short, Blacklist Industries saw the release of this upper and lower receiver set. They claimed it was theirs. And F4 Defense comes back and says, hey, listen, our designer, who is part owner of F4 Defense, tried to sell this design to you. You did not pay for it, and therefore we retain ownership. And I haven't seen any retort from Blacklist in that direction, but I mean, if that's the case, then STFU, dude, you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole huge case of he said, she said. Ava, I know you read this article. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it was pretty funny, but the guy, at the end of the day, there isn't anything that's like, like factual proof. It is.
Yeah, it's just a lot of.
That's a real tricky thing with like design and artwork, with Patriot Patch Company, so Ryan Cross, he does all of our designs, and so he could show someone a design he comes up with, and then they could rip it off immediately.
Mm-hmm.
There's no and there be no real proving one way or the other, and the same could happen in this scenario as well. If they showed them like a 3D rendering of this, there's no taking that back. I mean, so like for custom orders, that's one reason we require payment up front, because if we show someone proofs and stuff, there's no repossession process to pull that back in. Once it's out there, it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, even patents though, they don't. We talked to Sven from Manicore Arms, and I mean, he was even saying that for you to patent something, it's almost kind of a waste of time at this point.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, even at SHOT Show, it's a huge problem with people coming in, taking pictures of stuff, and then overseas releasing products that look and operate very similarly, but obviously not the same quality that the company who invented it is putting out most of the time.
Putting stuff that's that they know the scale of next to it in order to capture the correct dimensions.
Exactly, you see it all the time.
I saw something on Facebook about. I guess it was yesterday, and I think it was posted by the owner of Blacklist, but because we were talking about F4 here, and apparently I think F4 decided to discontinue that receiver set, and they're working on a new design. I don't know anything about the backstory of it, but so just for a little context as to how this might have ended, in case listeners care or want to know, that seems to be how it's ended.
The reality is, if they want this to be anything beyond a playground like argument, they both need to produce the communication between the two of them. Otherwise, shut up. You're just complaining about each other, and you both it gets to a point where people start to just get annoyed at it. Like, okay, you say this is what happened. This person says this is what happened. Put all the information out there and let the community decide who to believe.
I mean, is this something they can even intellectually protect?
I think so. I think the cuts on the receiver, I mean, you've got to have some kind of, I mean, yes, it's an AR-15 receiver set at the end of the day, but you've got to have some kind of repercussion on the cuts and all that sort of stuff, right?
But they chose not to, because it's already in production. It's already out there. So they chose not to protect it. So really, by choosing not to protect it, anyone can make it. I mean, look at any of our patches. We've had people rip them off, actually. But like John, you could take one of our patches, rip it off tomorrow, and I mean, we can't do anything about it. We didn't protect that intellectual property, and we didn't do it because it's not worth it. I imagine in this scenario, it might not be worth it either.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I personally know both of the people involved in this case, and this is one of those things where I just step back and go, all right, I don't want to be in the middle of this. Right. I don't want to be in the middle of this.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. In the article over at the Firearm blog, honestly, it's like they're just going back and forth, and they say he didn't pay, and he says I never got an invoice, and it's just.
Have you ever noticed that the Firearms blog really likes to like do these drama stories? Like he said, she said.
It's because people click it.
Yeah, including me. I clicked it. Now we're talking about it. So yeah, it works. Linkbait works apparently. But yeah, so I guess, like Adam said, seems to have a resolution at this point. But I'm sure that we'll hear about these guys fighting each other at SHOT Show this coming year. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hey, I think that'll do it for the I'm Offended segment. Let's move into the Full Auto News segment. All right, so everyone pick one. I picked mine, and it is the Aeronox gives the 1911 a revamp. I kind of love the way that this thing looks. They've changed it. They've put a bunch of slide cuts into it. Did they really make it any better, or did they just kind of put a mask on it and make it look a little bit more fancy? I think they made it look a little bit more fancy. It's got some slide cuts in the slide, which the article over at the Firearm blog, or the author, I should say, does say that he's not a huge fan of dirt and debris windows to the moving parts. But for me, don't really care a whole lot about that. I'm not carrying a 1911 for combat or self-defense or anything else these days. I just love the way it looks. I think the grips look great. I think the slide looks pretty awesome. And just at the end of the day, I do love my 1911s. Now, they're selling the slide for about $385 on a pre-order. And they do already sell their Mod 2 grips, which are some just really flat looking grips that go on the 1911. Those were for sale for $85. So has anyone else seen the Aeronox 1911?
It's the first I've seen it, but you know what this is. This is set up to be a movie gun. You know,
Probably.
The way that the cuts and just the look of it. I mean, it's going to be in that action movie sooner or later, I bet.
Yeah, I like it. Does anyone else here actually like 1911s? Let's see, John. I think I remember seeing something on your Facebook page. What are your thoughts on 1911?
I think the 1911 is a lot of fun to shoot, and I don't own one because I don't see I don't feel the need to go buy one. But I mean, I get it. Sorry, my phone's buzzing. This is a cool looking 1911. It really is. Like it looks neat. The thing that I find that's weird about 1911s in general is like this particular one. The frame is like an old, I don't know. It's like a basic frame, and that's, I don't know. I feel like we're getting there with modifications to them as far as like modernize the way they look. Because I mean, 1911 has been modified to all hell, and some of them are incredible. But I don't know. I think the slide looks cool. And there's an interesting backstory to Aeronox as a company. The designer, I believe, used to work for Jesse James, I believe, and I may be mistaken. He used to work for somebody like another company, left that company, and then dropped some really interesting stuff like a muzzle brake and this and that, AR parts, when it was hot. And he's also, if I'm not mistaken, the guy who helped design the Mini 5.56 minigun. Okay. I'm pretty sure this guy had a hand in that because I remember seeing it through his channels originally. And I mean, I'm curious to see where he continues to go with this stuff. You know, I love watching guys just kind of flex their creative muscles and come out with interesting stuff all the time.
Yeah, and I believe that was Empty Shell that did that minigun. I didn't realize that Aeronox was associated with that.
Well, it wasn't called Empty Shell originally.
Gotcha. It was just Glenn from Red Jacket, I believe.
If you click the follow the link trail, it says on this website or on Firearm blog, April 2017, Aeronox LLC has been involved in development of the 5.56 micro gun. There you go. So he's got his hands in all kinds of stuff, and that's awesome.
That's cool. Ava, what do you think about the looks of this one?
I like it. I mean, I know that the frame is kind of boring, but I think it's probably to keep that, obviously the original 1911 look. But as far as the slide, I mean, I just feel like, I like the look of it.
The futuristic look.
Yeah. I mean, even like all the AR parts and stuff, like all the skeletonized stuff that's coming out, I'm sure a lot of people will argue that it's not very ideal, but then again, I'm not dragging it through the mud and going to war with it. Same thing that I'm guessing most people with this 1911, could it get debris stuck in it? Sure, it's more likely, but I'm sure that the average person isn't dragging it through, through a bunch of
mud and sand and all that.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, are you a 1911 guy?
No, no, not even close. I had a 1911. I got rid of it years ago. I can appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into the higher end ones, and I think they're nice guns. But as far as something that I would spend money for, no.
Yeah, I mean, $350 for a slide, not terrible. But am I going to go buy one? Definitely not. Jake, 1911 guy, yes or no?
I'm a fan. I don't own one right now, but I should pick one up sometime.
How does nobody? I feel like that's just like one of the basic staples of your gun collection.
Well,
Everyone should have a 1911.
I have a few. I actually shot my 1911. I had a Rock Island Armory. I shot it in USPSA for a year without ever cleaning it. That thing ran like a champ. I loved it. I still have it. I still love it. There's just something about 1911s I love. I mean, I even carried one. Officer size for quite a while, and it was fun, but at the end of the day I like the more modern guns a little bit better.
Was this before or after you carried your Sky?
Before.
So you were just going through like that.
Yeah, and then I carried a Taurus and a 320 and a curve and the colors, and I just like to try everything. Now I carry a high point.
And actually, so the price for that slide, it's not that far off from what you could buy other slides for. Like, look what they're doing with Glock slides, when they're milling them out and stuff. They actually...
Yeah, that's reasonable.
They sell for just about... I think Glock slides sell for a little bit more than that.
Yeah, completely agree. Ava, you had a story.
I did have a story. Well, okay, first of all, so I know that this is my first day on the job, but I'm going to have to quit.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Well, that's because, do you want to know where I'm going to go?
Yeah, where are you going to go?
All right, so I'm going to go work in Atlanta.
Oh, that sounds hot.
Yeah, so it does, but there's a great opportunity. The Atlanta airport is paying roughly $67,000 for a job that allows you to shoot wildlife around the airport. So I'm not much of a hunter, but I think I could wing it.
What kind of wildlife?
So it's a airport wildlife biologist. Basically, they're looking for, let's see,
like birds and gophers and.
Well, so the problem is there's been a lot of wrecks. I mean, did you remember back in, I don't know, like years ago when somebody had to land on the Hudson River because I think it was a bird that flew into.
That was Sully.
Yeah, exactly. So they're trying to prevent that from happening, which apparently this happens, people lose their lives. Hundreds of people lose their lives worldwide, as well as billions of dollars in aircraft damage. So they are trying to get somebody to, I guess, sit out on the tarmac and, and shoot birds and snakes and coyotes and anything that could possibly cause interruption towards the flights.
That's pretty legit, actually. That seems like an okay job.
Yeah. So that's why I don't want to leave you guys. And Eric, I just met you, but
well,
okay, nobody laughed.
I laughed.
No, but it's kind of interesting. And at first I was like, no, but what about the animals? Because I'm not really much of a hunter. But at the end of the day, when you think about saving a plane from preventing it from crashing, then it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I do agree. That sounds like a pretty good job. I wonder what it pays. But
you have to be able to have marksmanship skills. I think they're looking for somebody who's NRA certified in pistol, rifle, and shotgun. So I think I have a chance.
Yeah, I think you should apply, definitely.
Yeah, and then I'm going to tell them on my resume about my bullseye guarantee class.
Oh, here we go. John, I actually didn't even see the story that you're going to do, and oh my God, I can't wait.
I'm so excited. You know, I'm so poor that all I want to do is shoot my Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 like a machine gun.
Yes.
I'm gonna be like, I'm a love machine. And the thing is, this company called Auto Glove came out with a product that's essentially a little motor attached to a glove. It's the laziest way for them to do this. They took a finger splint, attached a motor to it. It's like a stepper motor. Put a switch on, I guess, the middle finger. So basically, when you reach around the grip and hold your finger with that motor next to the trigger, this little thing repeatedly pushes on the trigger as long as you're holding down on the switch on the other side. And they call it the Auto Glove. This is simulated full auto fire. I actually reached out to them because I want one, because I think it's hilarious. I think this is amazing. But it's been getting all kinds of, oh my God, look at this kind of traffic. And I mean, it doesn't look like a high quality item.
No.
It absolutely does not look like a high quality item.
Built it for radio.
I think it's an interesting idea.
Man, this is like a throwback to our childhood almost, because you remember the Nintendo Power Glove?
Oh my God. Before you go too far, we did a story on this on TGC News, and literally we did a fake commercial for an Auto Glove, and Izzy did this like awesome animation. It was amazing.
Yeah, so it's a combination of that. And remember back in the day when 22 ammo was so cheap that you had those rotary handles you could get for your 1022 to make it fire really fast. Yeah. So they just put those two together with some electronics, and boom, there you have it.
It's definitely interesting, and it really does look a little bit chintzy. But yeah, let me ask you this, John. What did you think about their marketing videos that they've showed?
They spent so much money to have these awesome videos made, and it is amazing. And then they gave a VP9 and an Auto Glove to somebody who is clearly inexperienced in controlling a machine gun. So this girl decides, like, you can kind of burst it, I guess is the way to put this. And she literally pushes the thing and sends rounds just off into Never Neverland over whatever berm they may or may not have had. Nope. Who knows if it just absolutely was a bad choice of shot to put in the video.
Yeah, I don't understand why they had that. And then, I mean, she's got a horrible grip. Obviously not a shooter at all. And I mean, you can just literally see she's voting the sky. It's amazing.
Did you say voting?
Yeah, it's a verb now.
I'm so happy right now.
Yeah. So the Auto Glove, man, did they ever get back to you? Did they?
They said something like, yeah, when we get a few in, we don't have a lot. Something, you know what? I'm gonna look because I gotta figure it out.
We're like, we gotta go down to Home Depot and get some more parts.
Home Depot is out of the little or Radio Shack was out of the little motors we need.
Right.
But hey, look, I always talk about how I love innovation. I don't know if this is the kind of innovation we need, but it's definitely the innovation we deserve.
So they said that they would send one when they fill current back orders, and they said that'll be sometime in September. So fingers crossed that TGC gets an Auto Glove so that we can have shenanigans. Like, come on, Desert Eagle Auto Glove. That has great idea written all over it.
Epic.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's such a bad idea.
I love it. It's just what a time to be alive, right?
Yes.
That's like
oops. Sorry, Jake. Once I click the button, I can't stop it for anything. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that's an epic villain right there in any movie, the Auto Glove and the Desert Eagle.
Yeah. Ha ha.
I totally agree. I love it. All right, guys. Well, I think that is going to wrap us up. But don't forget to pledge your support for the show. firearmsradio.tv/pledge. Don't forget to support the Patriot Patch Company and the great things that they're making. Jake, have you sent out the newest Patch of the Month Club yet?
Yeah, patch of the month shipped earlier this week, so they should be arriving in your mailbox. If you're not a subscriber, go to patriotpatch.co, click Patch of the Month Club. You get one exclusive patch every month in your mailbox. These are one-time limited edition runs. We try to run just enough for the current subscriber base, and then we never run those patches again. So some of the best designs, and yeah, check it out. There's currently a few enrollment slots still open for the August patch of the month, so check it out.
Don't miss out, man. These are coveted items over on the We Like Shooting show. We literally fight each other for these, and our listeners go absolutely bonkers for them too. So don't forget, once they're gone, they're gone. You can't get them again. So patriotpatch.co, join the Patch of the Month Club. And, you know, just to wrap up this show real quick, I'd like to thank John and Adam and Ava and definitely Jake for being here. We'll definitely get a little bit better at this. This is it's a little bit of a new thing for me. Obviously, I run the We Like Shooting show, which is just chaos personified. So we'll get this under control. And thank you to all the listeners who have been here. And again, thanks, John, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on the farewell. This is sad. It's sad, Jake.
It is
sad. I'm disappointed, but I'm happy for you for what you take on next.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Adam, thank you for being here as well, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on this show. Saying goodbye to our good friend, who I'm sure now I'll never send a text message to ever again, except to complain about my patch of the month being late. That's all. No.
Exactly. Don't forget to check out adamkraut.com. He's running for the NRA board. Definitely needs your help to get there. And look, honestly, we need good people on the board. I completely feel that Adam fits that bill, and have no hesitation when I recommend that people do vote for Adam for the NRA board of directors. Ava, thanks for being here. It's your first time on This Week in Guns. Sorry, there's a little bit of a terribleness.
Oh, I thought it was awesome.
Well, you know, when I blew it like 3 seconds into the show, I knew that that's just how the whole thing was going to go.
No, I appreciate. Well, I kind of invited myself, but I really appreciate you having me.
It's true. I'm not under duress.
And Jake, it was nice to meet you in person finally. And I wish you the best of luck. And I know that. Let's see, what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
I know that Patriot Patch Company is just going to continue to be successful and grow, because you're going to have more time to work on it, and you're going to include me in the mailing list. And
I was like, where's the payoff to the sentence?
And that's it.
All right, good stuff. And Jake,
Ava, rest assured, your patch is in the mail.
Okay, that's great, because I somehow got cut off the last 3 months, and
somebody was a little bit upset.
You can't just get somebody addicted to patches and then you just cut them off. Like,
the first hit's free.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Somebody cut herself off of the We Like Shooting show.
I was like, Sean, did you tell him not to send me anymore? And he's like, no, I swear. And I was like, I was
like, new phone, who dis? Jake, before we do anything else, I would like to give you a chance just to speak to the listeners, just not of This Week in Guns, but of the entire Firearms Radio Network, and just kind of tell them what it's meant to you.
Oh, it's been a fun ride. I mean, like I said, I started off as a hobby and then made a lot of friends with just Gun Guy Radio. You know, they found the show and they started to write in saying, hey, you should do an episode on this or that. And then I started to get ideas for doing like the AR-15 podcast. And, you know, I had Ryan Machad on. He had the idea for handgun radio. And so I started telling people, hey, that's a great idea. Start a show. So we started the Firearms Radio Network kind of that way. And, you know, at the time I was still working my dreaded day job. And I thought, you know, maybe I could do a network kind of like the 5x5 network. And maybe I can actually make a go of this. Well, that never happened, but we did build an awesome network that made a bunch of friends, made a lot of cool shows that will live on thanks to Sean. And
Well, my first order of business is honestly to rename Handgun Radio to the Revolver Special.
right.
You hear that, Ryan? You've just been notified.
You've been put on notice.
Exactly.
It's got huge potential for the future. I mean, honestly, listeners, if you didn't see my Facebook post, I've just been really burned out a couple years on the whole podcast game, and quite honestly, kind of burned out on the firearms industry. And I you kind of see the same stuff over and over again. Part of the reasons I quit going to SHOT Show. But I'm still a fan, still a supporter. We're still supporting the network as Patriot Patch Company. And I'm just really excited that, passionate people that have the talent and ability are going to continue bringing you guys great shows, great podcasts, and continue growing the Firearms Radio Network.
All right. You guys have heard it now. Jake gave me permission. So, Ryan, watch your back, buddy. But again, thank you, Jake. We appreciate everything you've done. I don't want to get, all over it and get all mushy and cry or anything like that, which I'm prone to do sometimes. But again, thank you for everything. Thanks not only for teaching us, for giving us fish, but for teaching us how to fish. And at the end of the day, thanks not just for me, because I am not just the host of We Like Shooting. I'm not just, now the host of This Week in Guns. I'm not the president of the Firearms Radio Network. I'm a listener. Like, I love the podcast on the network, and none of it would exist without you. So thank you.
Yeah, but it was all you guys. It was all the different hosts, all the listeners. I mean, in reality, I didn't do that much. I tried to herd some cats and tried to keep some organization to everything, but really everyone else carried the water. I mean, I really appreciate it.
All right. I love it, man. Thank you very much. So again, AdamKraut.com. We've got the Gun Collective. Search for it anywhere and everywhere. Ava's launching the Gun Funny Show. You can find her at EliteFirearmsandTraining.com as well, and all the social media too. You can find This Week in Guns on Facebook. You can find This Week in Guns at firearmsradio.tv. So we would really love it if you comment on the videos. Let us know your thoughts on just kind of everything, and leave us a review in iTunes. You can go to thisweekinguns.com/iTunes. It'll take you directly there. Look, that helps people find the show. That helps us grow the Firearms Radio Network. So if you haven't left an iTunes review, now's the time. I'm going to put this back on you. Go leave us a review. It really, really does help people find it. It helps the firearms industry and in podcasting grow. And honestly, if you listen to podcasts, go do that one thing. Go leave us a review. Let us know what you think, unless it's bad after this first episode, and then maybe just go ahead and choke down that hate and just let it sit and let
it fester.
Yeah, just let it fester. We'll get better, I promise. You can contribute to the show by using our FRN Amazon affiliate link. You can find that at firearmsradio.tv. Thanks to everyone who's watched live, and thanks to everyone who's going to listen. Thanks to Jake, Adam, John, Ava, and thanks to you, the listener. We out.
Bye.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.